I never did you a video last night after the race at Northfield because oddly enough I was a bit tired and I had to get to bed. You know, I never usually have an issue turning off my computer. When it's time to go to bed, it's time to go to bed, and I usually don't take long falling asleep. But last night, oh good, it's raining. Last night it was particularly easy. A long day. I get up, went home for Ollie's birthday party. Now we went to a paintball place. We went to a paintball place, and I've never played paintball in my life. Always thought about it, just never did. It's one of those things I never did. So at the end of the day, they played 6 games. The kids were pumped. It was a lot of fun, except for the mosquitoes. And at the end of the day, the gentleman running the place said, "Now, Mom and Dad should maybe square off." For a minute, I said, "Okay." And Amy was not thrilled with the idea. It's quite gratifying. She might get shot a couple of times, but it was a lot of fun. I'm glad that Ollie got to hang out with his friends. You know, our family, I remember how it was like for me to grow up and how totally different it is for kids these days, and quite a bit different for our family, right? I'm always on the go. I'm always going somewhere or moving, and I feel the most uncomfortable when I'm sitting still. And obviously, after looking at the report card for Oliver, he might have the same issues. I think that's just the way I'm wired. You know, when I was a kid, they called it ADD, and now it's ADHD. Just thought it was productive. When I was a kid, you know, you're always, especially in this game, in the horse industry, you're always trying to make sure all your bases are covered, right? Horse sound. Is the horse sound? Equipment okay? How do you train this week? How's the sheep? How's their appetite? You know, you have blood work to discuss with the veterinarian. You can never just focus on one portion of horse racing or it'll pass you right by. But the people that compartmentalize, you know, the thing I say this all the time, I love so much about Jason is that, you know, the training board is perfect. The stable is set up perfectly. I'm not like that. I try to be, but I would start a job and then, oh, I forgot I have to go do this. Oh, I forgot I have to do this. I met a guy once, and one of our clients, and he's still with us. He plays a pretty big role. And he called it the squirrel syndrome. So I think in that regard, two very different people that play a huge role in two very, very different ways in a burn. Now, obviously, my role has changed now, but I'm always focusing on, did I talk about this in the video? Did I send this email out? Was it sent out properly? Did I talk to Harry or Dominic about a horse? You know, if I didn't, I find myself writing down stuff. You know, like I have dementia, writing down notes every day, you know, about things that have to be done. So although my role in my life has changed quite a bit over the last 10 years, for the better, still can't shake that, you know, that way that I'm wired. So, I find myself a little bit tired today. As I said, I drove home last night, and I learned a long time ago when I was a caretaker, try not to hit that snooze button, right? Hit that snooze button, and then it just seems like it compounds. By the time you finally are done hitting that snooze button, get up and have a shower and a shave, you feel tired. You feel worn out. And that snooze button got punched quite a few times today. I had my alarm set. I knew I had to be out of there. Had to be out of the house by 7 at the latest. Set my alarm for 6:15. Pretty optimistic, pretty ambitious time frame, all things considered. Because it was. I drove 4.5 hours home. Immediately, virtually went to Oliver's birthday party. Stayed there all day with Amy and the kids, and then the second it was over, and it was only maybe 10 minutes from the house, the second it was over, went home, grabbed a shower, got in the car, went to Northfield, and then as I got closer to Northfield, the weather looked good, but just outside Cleveland, it started to pour. Track was a little rough and hard last night. When it rains really hard at Northfield, the track just turns to cement, which is a problem. Here we got flip-flops on Patrick DePerona because his feet bother him, and we have racer pads on J.K. Mickey Mantle because his feet bother him. Just don't race on the cement. It's just the way the track is. It's not anybody's fault. I'm not saying, the track crew. It's nobody's fault. It's just the way it is. So it was hard for me last night to gauge Patrick DePerona's trip. Here's a horse that was off 5 weeks. When you look at the line, certainly looks like it might have been an AFib type situation. It was never diagnosed, but wasn't sick. He didn't tie up. The line is what it is. Regardless of what was said or not said by the veterinarians, it certainly is. And I'm learning too. I'm beginning to understand that it's not all black and white. When the veterinarian looks at the horse, Megan was telling me when Spitfire flipped his heart, the original vet said it wasn't conclusive if he was an AFib, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Which I just thought yes or no. The way that Dr. Latessa had explained it, it sounds like tennis balls in a dryer, right? You get that skip. So it's just so many things. It's just the more times we've been put in situations, the more times we see something new, right? Horses that are bleeding. I can't get my finger, my hand on how a horse can be a bad bleeder for somebody, whether it be us or another barn, and then it not seemingly be a problem for us or another barn afterwards, and how the horses can recover and almost heal. And it's you just think a horse is bleeding in the middle of competition, they're going to continue to bleed. It doesn't appear to be the case all the time. And then we have this odd thing with the AFib, and you're never really certain all the time, right? I just thought, yep, absolutely 100% AFib, or no, not at all. Some horses can revert back before you get a real good read on them. So just so many little tiny things that even I, as somebody who's been in this game a very long time and been around horses my whole life, even I at this age are still learning about certain things. Even last week, this was the first time we castrated Irresistible Son because medically he should have been. And then as it turned out, it was the right move. When Dr. Latessa was done, he called me and he said, yeah, his left testicle was 3 times the size of his right one. I don't know what the hell that means, but as a male, I can tell you, it probably wasn't very comfortable. Anyway, it was hard to read into Patrick DePerona's race last night because it was a fast half, right? He had raced in 5 weeks. He's on a concrete track, off 5 weeks. They go 26, 53, and 3. Where's he going to tighten the line? Not. He paced 51 and 4, come 29 seconds on an off track. Not a bad mile. It just felt to me that he was struggling the whole way. Maybe not struggling. Struggling might not be a fair word. Working. He was working the whole way. There was no rest for anybody in that race. So we'll run some blood work on him to see if anything jumps out. I mean, there's a part of me that hopes his GGT is high or his AST is high. But in reality, he may just need a couple of starts. J.K. Mickey Mantle, a lot to unpack there. I always get messages from time to time from my clients, and I fact that there's a lot of people, a lot of people that have come from a pretty strong background in horse racing. Been in the game a long time, much like myself, maybe more years than myself. And I certainly don't want to dissuade anybody from giving input or feedback. That's what I'm here for. But when the horses aren't racing good, you get the message. One client of ours, partner of mine, always adamant that Jakey Mickey Mantle has to be on a big track. And I get that. The problem is as human beings, we fall into this trap where you see something, you've convinced yourself that it's true, and now it's become gospel. Now it is a fact. And we do it as trainers. It's just human nature. The reality is, you haven't sat behind the horse, you haven't trained the horse, you don't know what speed they're like, you don't know anything about them except you watch them on TV. And even so, you look at it and say, well, I can clearly see he gets around this track better than that track, but you don't know what goes into the two, right? The reason J.K. Mickey Mantle left Mohawk is because there was nothing there for him right now. We could have raced him in the class he raced in Northfield, in fairness. Now one is a 2, 3, 4,000, whatever it was. And he could have bounced around a little bit. But it would have been, at the end of the day, it would have been 1 start pretty good and 3 or 4 starts not very good. And that's so much different than here right now. And that's where I was leading the conversation to, is we're always looking for the best place to race the horses, right? Now, sitting behind J.K. Mickey Mantle, I can tell you he was really good 2 starts ago. When I made that break in the first turn with him, it was on me. It was an irresponsible drive. I put him on the run and then subsequently had to qualify the horse. Had I just been a little safer in the first turn, I think he wins. And with a totally different conversation. But it didn't go that way. We had to qualify him. Then last night, he's on the very hard track, and I know it, and Mickey knows it. I can tell when I score him down. He knows it's not the same track as the other day. So, not to mention, we tried to double dip with him, which, all things considered, and hindsight playing a big role, probably not the best place to go. And I remember right back into the guy drives a 2-hole or 3-hole, maybe we're not talking. So, that's unfair. For our partners out there that are adamant he has to be on a bigger track, well, Northfield Park closes down for 2 weeks. Next Sunday, 2 weeks off. Doing work on the track, and it was scheduled, planned. So he'll likely go to the Meadows. And he said, well, why not Scioto? You can't get in there. They now put it on the condition sheet if you haven't raced there so many starts. Or they really just said, don't come unless you've been racing there. It's virtually what you said. And if it's not an Ohio bred or owned, don't even bother. Which he is not. So Mickey will likely go to the Meadows, which I think will suit him fine. And race. Last time I drove at the Meadows at Base 51, somebody, the same partner said, I can't believe how much this horse has slid. He made 2 breaks off a mile 51 at Mohawk. He made 2 breaks on a half-mile track. 1, the hobbles were too long the first time, because we had left him out to go to a big track. Left him out to race at Northfield. You don't always have to rip them all in. We left him out. He trained good. He made a break in the first turn on Hunter. No, second, third turn. The break on me was on me. Qualified easy. Poor bugger come right back in 3 days. Qualified easy. 57, 27, and 4. Ear hood on. Snake cord on. Horse was great. Last night the track was just hard. That's what goes into what you're looking at. But you don't know the finer points. And listen, everybody's opinion's their own. I respect your opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. But as I say to everybody when they're adamant about something, there can only be one captain, right? If I did everything everybody said, Anthony, why don't you try that? No problem, I'll try that. Why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? Why don't we try that? It would look like a zoo and nothing would get done. Not to mention, what would you need me for? If I just did what everybody wanted to do all the time. And I guess that's a position that maybe a coach is in, right? Oh, I've been there. You know, why would you put a left-handed pitcher in against that guy? Why would you let the big catcher, you know, stay on second in the bottom of the ninth and not have a pinch runner for him and lose the game? Just the nuances of every sport. There has to be a coach, a general manager, so on and so forth. So as I do respect everybody's opinion, I would ask everybody to maybe flip that coin over and understand that although you maybe have been in horse racing for a long time, I too have been in horse racing for a long time. Before I opened the stable, where we have the biggest stable in Canada for the past 7 years, I had my own stable long before that. And before I had a stable, I always worked for the best trainers I could, right? I worked for the leading trainer in Montreal. I worked for the leading trainer in Windsor. I worked for the leading trainer in Hazel Park when I was there. Ontario. I always tried to go somewhere I could learn the most. And I suspect that everybody watching this is in business with stable because you believe that we know what we're doing also. So, although it's easy to sit back and say you have to do this, you should do that, I get it, and I appreciate the input. But at the end of the day, not knowing everything that goes into any decision or every part of every situation leaves you with an incomplete picture and therefore an incomplete response. So, and as I said, no hard feelings. I'm just laying it out there. I hope everybody hears this and understands that every so often when something pops into your head, it is an incomplete response because you don't have all the information in most cases, in almost every case. So, Patrick, we're going to try and figure out exactly what I saw last night. Did I just see a horse that was a little short on a hard track? I can tell you what he wasn't. When I qualified him, he was hung on the right line pretty good, paced hard, but on the right line, straight as a string last night. Not on any line, did his work well, just seemed un-Patrick-like. But that could be from what's right in front of us and not something sinister lurking behind. That may just be that the horse is short on a hard track in the mud with flip-flops on. So that was Patrick. J.K. Mickey Mantle, I think, same type of thing. I tried to be easy on him. They went 53 and 4. He get nosed out for fourth. Now, you're not going to see me bust him up on Wednesday either. I think we'll probably drive him as conservative as we can on Wednesday, trying to get as much as we can. But next week at the Meadows, it's game on for J.K. Mickey Mantle. And I think that's the best way. It's not that I'm not going to drive him, but not going to drive him hard on Wednesday, but he does hit the 7-hole coming back from Sunday. I'm not going to leave much of his transmission on the track, put it that way. But overall, we had a great day yesterday. Aside from those two, which weren't horrible. Patrick raced in the Open off 5 weeks. J.K. Mickey Mantle coming off a break. Cut them some slack. Because the rest of the day was fantastic. We had Don't Talk About Bruno. I'm going to tell you one thing. Dominic Ledoux has done some kind of job with this horse. We always knew he had talent, speed. Maybe not as much raw talent as his brothers had when they were two. Trantini, Macho Martini. But definitely smarter. And definitely more polite. Here I thought it was the mother. He's never done anything wrong. Bruno? Not one time. It's always, his knees always bothered him, his feet always bothered him, but he never really did anything wrong, and he missed some time. Now we're just starting to get a consistent schedule into this horse. Dominic told me how well he trained this week. He looked awesome. That's a tough track to come a half in a minute with, let alone in the mud. That's a big mile for Don't Talk About Bruno yesterday. A great mile for that horse. And a huge step forward. You know, we're going to have to really assess all the information in front of us when it comes to Bruno, but he may find himself in the grassroots sooner than later. He was really, really good yesterday. So great job by Dominic and his crew with that horse. He looked awesome. I got to watch Arison race. Horse raced awesome. 52 flat or 52 and 1, 27 and a piece on the end of it, or 27 flat maybe, I don't know. 74, I don't know. He was very, very good. Another horse, you know, he had that gap to the Meadows, didn't really race that good at the Meadows, and then had that gap again to the Red Mile. So this is his second start since Oak Grove yesterday. He's inevitably going to be much, much better next week. So a good job by Eric again. Him and Kathy love this horse. He's a likable horse, very likable horse, which just goes to show you, you know, you see these horses trained down sometimes and they're miserable little buggers. This guy was miserable January, February, March, April. He just started to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and now he is the sweetest, most complete horse in every sense of the word. You know, I was worried, you couldn't put him on the gate. Is he going to be all right in company? Put his nose right on the gate now, leave, sit, do whatever you want. The horse just races like he just races. You can tell he's racing as good as he can every time he's on the track. And that is a very gratifying feeling. So again, looking back at the work that Jason and his crew, Jason Merriman, Jason McGinnis, everybody in the barn, and it goes without saying, Antoine, who just learned about horses, took care of this horse his whole life and did a great job with him, tried hard. You know, the horse learned as much as Antoine did training down, which says a lot. So, very proud of the entire work that went into Earth, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this guy for the rest of the season. J-Port Beach Boy, Mario's horses raced great last night. Vic Paisley spent a lot of time in the runs, training down, training down towards the races. She looked very, very composed last night. Left with her, put her on the front, removed her, coming again at the wire. She raced good. She's done a great job. Emily Mario done a great job with this filly. And also J-Port Beach Boy. Win on the front. It's impressive. Impressive work yesterday. You know, he's not a horse that leaves you with the feeling he's given us all every time by any stretch of the imagination. But nevertheless, goes out and gets it done yesterday and looked good doing it. So 2 great miles, and then watch your mouth. I was so happy. You guys had no idea. You think I work hard? A drop in the bucket compared to what John Evans does every week. I have no idea how the man functions. Literally makes me look lazy. Goes out, works his butt off. Here he has, a little backstory for everybody on Watch Your Mouth. So, a long time ago, we got a horse from Tommy Riley. Don't believe me, just watch. So we get the horse. We worked out a deal, and it wasn't that expensive. And this gentleman came in and bought a couple of shares. His name is Brian Evans. And, a few weeks later, his son comes by, and he has his daughter with him, sweet little girl. And they buy into the horse, too. So we go to lunch a couple of times, John and I. And Brian, a nice old guy, but a crotchety bugger, right? If they raced bad, he would let you know it right after the race. I mentioned the people sending you the message. There was no mixed signals when they raced bad with Brian. You would know it. If you heard that little ding on your phone right after the race, it was Brian. But a nice man. John ended up coming around and ended up buying a lot of shares and a lot of horses. Loved the horses. His daughter loved the horses. And it was just so nice. It's always nice. I keep saying we have the nicest clients because we do. Seeing people fall in love with horses either for the first time or again, right in front of your eyes, is maybe the best feeling and the best thing about the stable.ca from my point of view. I was just so, and it wasn't just John, it's everybody. But this is what was taking place. So don't believe me, just watch race good as a 2-year-old, and then as a 3-year-old he was okay, and Brian ended up owning a bunch of the horse. And there was a point in time when we were going to sell Don't Believe Me, Just Watch. I don't think Brian wanted to. There was a number of his partners that didn't. And then he became, I think, a little indifferent to it. Maybe yes, maybe no. And we worked out an agreement where there was a group of clients that did not want to sell them, and a group that did. And the group that did not bought out the other group. So he kept Don't Believe Me, Just Watch. He raced okay as a 3-year-old and his 4-year-old season. He was an overachiever. That's what he was. Nice horse to be around. And I think that's a perfect word for him. He was an overachiever. Took a mark of like 53 as a 2-year-old. Pretty nice little horse. I remember Brian was sick. Sick with cancer. I believe. No, he had a number of things. He wasn't in good shape. And I remember it was just eating away at John, as it would anybody. You know, your dad's fell ill, you know, and you can see the writing on the wall. It just seemed like such a horrible thing to take place. And I remember he loved this horse. John did too. So I trucked the horse all the way down to Barrie, and then put him right in his backyard for the afternoon. Brian came out, saw the horse. It just seemed like the right thing to do, and Brian had passed away shortly thereafter. And Peanut, we came to know Don't Believe Me, Just Watch by his full brother, came up for sale. And John bought the whole horse. So you'll see Anko Chemicals, whatever, management, or I don't know what the hell it is. That's John. John bought the whole horse, which was only fitting. It was right around sale time for us. We were in the middle of buying horses or getting ready to buy horses, and this horse was up for sale. I didn't really have a room for him. I didn't, in my budget, what we were trying to do with the stable, and John just said, I'll buy it. So he bought the horse. So that's who owns Watch Your Mouth, John Evans. And as you can imagine, how emotional it was last night for him to win that stake race. I wish I had been there, to be honest, because it was certainly a great feeling for him. And those are the types of moments that I'm lucky to be involved in people's lives, right? All the time, not just John. I see it all the time with people. And it's just such a... To be involved in somebody's life like that is yeah, I think we all have to realize how lucky we are. And I think that's the biggest draw of the stable, actually, truthfully, is that we all, in one form or another, are involved in everybody else's life. You certainly are involved in mine. And to just see these snapshots of people's lives and be a part of them is it really is a wonderful thing, and I think that is the biggest draw of the stable. So for John, congratulations on the win, and I'm sure Brian was looking down on Watch Your Mouth last night. So Watch Your Mouth was very good. J-Port Beach Boy was very good. McPaisley, all three of those horses raced great. Don't Talk About Bruno raced tremendous in the morning here. I just got done saying on the weekend I wish the Ontario horses would pick it up a little bit, and they did. They certainly did. And then you guys know what happened at Northfield with Patrick McCrum and Nicky Mantle. And then, of course, Per Lucky finished second again, but looked very, very, very good. Probably one of our most underrated horses. You know, we paid good money for him, but he just continues to race good everywhere we send him. We've raced this horse in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. He's raced in at least 5 states for the stable alone, and just been a nice horse for us. So very happy with Per Lucky, how he's progressed. I guess not progressed, just how he has been in the stable and has played such a great role for us behind the scenes. You know, just one of those horses that always show up. And he has his whole career, of course, just beautiful horse. So a great day yesterday on Sunday. What do we got going on today? We have 5 Fish Species is racing today. That should be a lot of fun. She's looking very, very good. Militant in a good spot again today. Now, the only thing that sucks is it's not supposed to pour rain, I don't think, in Kentucky, but it is supposed to rain. And if you've ever been to Kentucky, let's make it messy. So 5 fish species is in Monticello. Then we got Militant, Lonely Lakewood, Pickpocket. All 3 of those horses are going to wear the trotting hobbles. Cutie Cumber's also racing in Monticello. We got Winter Bells this afternoon in Dresden, I believe, grassroots. And then tonight we have White Tiger, Oakwood Cowboy. I've had 5 emails from people saying, Anthony, there is a 0% chance you're going to make it from Kentucky, where I'm driving right now, back to Northfield Park to drive Wallop. Well, when you look at the 2 post times, it won't be a problem. But then you do have to factor in the extended drag in Kentucky. I get it, you're right. But when I got in the car, it said 4:29 from Macedonia to Kentucky. That means I can probably make it in 4:05. Accident. Can probably make it 4:05. So I think I'll make it to Northfield Park. And as I said to Jason last night, he was one of the ones that said I'd never make it. I said, it's not like Northfield goes on time. By the time you get way into the deepest end of the car, they're going to be 30, 40 minutes late. So I think I will make it, no problem. My plan is to race these 3. The biggest problem I have is that I might be covered with red mud when I come off the track. That's a problem. If I'm lucky enough not to be, or I can just strip down out of that mud gear, throw it all in a bag in the back of the car, and leave, I'll make Wallop tonight. So that is my plan, is to drive Wallop tonight. So he'll round out he'll be the last horse racing tonight at 10:02, it says. It is kind of tight. 10:02, he'll probably race around 10:35. I'm supposed to get off the track. I will get off the track at 5. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight, but I'll make it. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. We got a big week ahead of us. I'm trying to figure out my Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't think we're going to be going to the Gold Cup and Saucer, and that bothers me a little bit. We won it last year. We could send Think of Galaxies, but given the horses that are probably going to the Gold Cup, you know, this mare was beat in the non-winners at 8,000 or 9,000 in the Poconos. Yes, she went a huge mile in the Open Fillies and Mares, but man, we're asking her to carry a lot of water. If we ask her, hey, by the way, we're going to buy you for truthfully speaking, it was a lot of money, but next to nothing when you're talking about Gold Cup and Saucer horses. We initially bought Greatest Ending with the thought he may end up in the Gold Cup. That was $170. Over 4 times what we paid for Think of Galaxies. She's got a good thing going on here in Ohio. Jason gets along really good with her. If we had another week to assess, maybe. I just think it would be a little irresponsible to send Think of Galaxies down to PEI right now. So, as it stands, Patrick certainly isn't good enough. Greatest Ending's just coming back off the shelf. Sintra is not the Sintra that won the Gold Cup last year. And Think of Galaxies, although I was tempted, and still am a little bit, I think we'll play it safe and maybe stick closer to Ohio with her. So, with that, I'm going to let you go. I hope you guys are having a good day. I am a little bit tired. Summer always starts to catch up with me at some point. But I'll push through today, get done in Kentucky, get done in Northfield, and then probably do some sleeping on Tuesday.